Yep, you're good. This is because it turned into stop record. That's the one we hit at the end.
There you go. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's now 4 p.m. and I will call the meeting of the Harwich Golf Committee to order. We would like to begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. Flag should be there, so I guess we'll just look at it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. My name is Paul White, and I am the chair of the Harwich Golf Committee. I'm joined today by Mark Martello, vice chair of the committee, Jay Adams, a member of the committee, and Eric Clark. We are also joined, and we're very appreciative of the fact that our director of golf is with us as well, Roman Greer. Roman, thank you for taking time out of your very active schedule to be with us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. This is the time when we ask for public comment or any announcements, and we have no members of the public with us, so I assume that no one has any public comments to make.
Everyone's happy.
But we do like to give that opportunity in case someone has an issue they want to bring to the attention of the committee or some matter that they feel is important for the town to be made aware of.
So Paul, if I could ask a question, I had emailed a couple of things as members had talked to me.
Yep.
When do those fit into the agenda?
I think I forwarded a copy of it
Yep.
to Roman, and I think Roman may be commenting on some of those
Yep.
matters today.
Okay.
And going forward, we'll see that each of those matters is addressed.
Nope, appreciate it.
If
Thank
not
you.
today, it
That
will
was
be
my
at a
plan as well, to cover them during the director's report.
That'd be great.
Yep.
The questions that came my way.
Yeah.
That's great.
If you, any of you have a matter that you think is important for us to consider, make me aware of it, and it's my responsibility to bring that to the attention of the director of golf, and when appropriate and the schedule allows, he will address it. For example, Karen has raised a couple of points, one of which I think was already responded to at the last meeting, and we may have some additional comments today, depending on what the schedule allows. But we'll stay on top of that fact and make sure that we have an opportunity to discuss what is important to all
No,
the members.
that's great. I wanted to make sure that the intake component is there, and then our minutes can reflect
Yeah,
what the answers are, so.
absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that, Jay. Turning to the consent agenda, the first matter would be approval of the meeting minutes from August. Mike Surgeon, as well as, Surgeon, I should say, as well as Jay Adams in his responsibility as our clerk. They have collaborated, and Mike gives us a, fabulous attention, putting these together as he's done for so many years. It's an enormous contribution that he makes to us. And I know it's part of his responsibilities, but I do appreciate it. And I want to publicly thank Mike for helping me in the initial stages of my responsibility as chair. He's been very helpful in making me aware of how we need to proceed in posting, et cetera, and it's much appreciated. I hope that all of you have had an opportunity to see the forwarded minutes from the August 13th meeting. Are there any corrections or adjustments that we need to make? Hearing none, I would accept a motion to accept the minutes. So moved by Mark, seconded by Eric.
There you go.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved and can be appropriately posted as part of our report. We now turn to the director's report.
Great.
Roman,
Thank you, Mr.
the floor is
Chairman.
yours.
Appreciate that. Wow, it's been a busy time at the golf course, as everyone here, I think, can imagine. We've had great weather, great golf course conditions, but I'd love to recognize the golf course staff, especially Sean Fernandez and Rob Donovan, their staff. It's been very challenging. It started off as a nice, easy year to grow grass, and it's become very challenging with the lack of rain.
Yeah.
A lot of play, no breaks. So I want to recognize them, especially for the efforts in getting the golf course into our real showcase event, which was the Mid-Am 2 weeks ago. That was an event we've been gearing up for all year basically, and boy, they had the golf course just right for the event, and so thank you to Rob and Sean, their staffs, they did an excellent job. Just touching on the 41st Massachusetts Mid-Am tournament, I hope everybody got a chance to see the video that I forwarded.
It's great.
How fun was that? I mean, so the champion shot a 64. He holed out a bunker shot to tie the course record, and unbelievable. So it was it's created a real buzz. I was telling Mark, it's created a real buzz in the golf world. I mean, so they won't die right away. So that's what you want. You want a lot of good press. And
That was a cool shot, and it hung up there for a while before it went down.
it was like the Tiger Woods shot at
Yeah.
the Masters, kind of hung and dropped.
I think the bigger story is that was an eagle
That was an eagle.
Yeah, an eagle on 18.
from the back tees.
Oh, I
How do
know.
you do that?
Way back tees.
Yeah.
How do you do that? I don't even know how you can hit it over the
It was,
trees from there.
I mean, those are the best golfers in the state, and there were 2 eagles all week on that hole, and one of them was his last
So
shot.
there were 2 of them.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Tied the course. So in our 50th anniversary year to tie a course record, I mean, unbelievable. So
That's great.
really, really, really neat. So that tournament I thought was everything that we wanted it to be and more. Really showcased the golf course beautifully. Thanks to Mass Golf, they put on a great show. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you mind if I call on somebody, but do you mind if we ask Mark, who worked on the Mass Golf staff, if he had any comments from the Mass Golf
Be
side?
delighted to hear.
Yeah, well, all the feedback that I got being out on the course for 3 days, the players loved the course. They thought it was in terrific shape, and when they found out how many rounds we actually have at the course,
Yeah.
they were flabbergasted. They couldn't believe it. And like I said, like Roman said, I think Sean does a fantastic job, and he had the course ready to go for these guys, and it was a challenge.
Yeah.
The greens were lightning fast, and did a good job. And everybody from Mass Golf, as I said to Roman, they love coming here. They love Cranberry Valley, and I'm sure they're going to come back for quite a few more tournaments.
It's great to hear. You have actually worked at other tournaments on other courses, right?
Yeah, I did
And
19 this summer.
19 this
Yeah.
summer. Wow.
Yeah.
You're a real volunteer.
Yeah, and
God bless you.
yeah, and
How do you think the experience leveled at our course as compared to these others?
well, it was good. I mean, the Mass Open, of course, was at Willow Bend, which
Yeah.
is a course in itself.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever played it before, it's just unbelievable. But the staff there was terrific, and the weather was good there. It just didn't compare to the weather we had. I mean, we had 3 gorgeous days, but a lot of the private courses, they're all in excellent shape. They're all in terrific shape. A couple of them were,
Yeah.
borderline, but it was a very busy season on the Cape for Mass Golf. Very busy. So,
That's great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Mark. I appreciate it. I did want to thank, I know Mark worked for the Mass Golf staff, but we did have some local member volunteers that really made the tournament all it could be, because without the volunteers, nobody can log in from work or from home and follow the tournament. So we had local volunteer scorers. I'd love to recognize them. Ralph Ferrigno, Joe Zaka, Jim Gorman, Leslie Cronin, Jane King, Dave Wilson, Jim Parkin, Al Olsted, George Devajian, Pat Davin, and Cindy Perry were all Cranberry Valley members who volunteered to be scorers in the event, most of them for more than one day, and they shared great feedback with me as well. And really, that really helps create the buzz all over the state, so people can watch and see the live scoring on their computer. So thank you to them; they did a great job. And then I think it's really neat to recognize Jake Raddy from Wallaston Country Club, who won the event with, as we said, a course record tying 64. So we had a really good champion that tied a 50-year course record.
So he's out of Wallaston.
Yeah, Wallaston.
That's a tough course, too.
It is, yeah.
That's
Yeah. It's
right in
known
my
as-
old backyard.
That's known as the
Yeah.
Players Golf Course. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they generate some good golfers.
I once represented the town of Milton, too, in the state
Okay.
senate.
Yeah.
So that's where Wallaston is. It used to be, the old Wallaston was really what is now known, I think, as President's Course, which is
Okay.
right next to
On the side of
Granite
the
Ave, and you can see it when you're driving down. That was the old Wollaston golf
I
course,
didn't know that.
and they moved across
Yeah.
further into Milton
Interesting.
and built that beautiful course with all the houses around it. Yeah.
Neat,
Yeah.
neat. Very neat.
Wow.
Well, one thing I wanted to point out was other golf tournaments we have upcoming. Tomorrow we have the Men's Golf Association of Cranberry Valley. It's day 2 of their Cranberry Cup with a 7:30 in the morning shotgun event. September is very busy with tournaments. We were scheduled to have the golf course superintendents of Cape Cod on Thursday. That event canceled, so we now have an open date on Thursday for our members and guests to go ahead and play. This Sunday, 9/22, we have a women's 9-hole association 9 and wine event in the afternoon, and then finally 9/26 and 9/29. That's a Thursday and a Sunday. We have our senior club championship. So still very busy season, and it's, we try not to have any tournaments during the summer months when everybody's here. So when we get just past Labor Day, here comes the tournament. So
When is the senior one?
it's the 26th and 29th, which is a Thursday and a Sunday.
And that's in...
September.
September.
September 26th and 29th.
Yeah, got it.
We always get great attendance for that one. It's funny, it seems a little strange to have it separated like that. That's the feedback we received was the seniors don't like to play 2 days in a row. We've had better. We tried it with a Saturday and a Sunday, and they said no, too much golf. Of course, so we separated it with a Thursday and Sunday, and we have
Relate to that.
We have great attendance. So we found a sweet spot there. We are starting our fall first tee program today, and that's Monomoy Middle School only. But that'll be Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays every day, every week until just about Halloween. And then, I'll cover a couple. Right now, I'll cover a couple committee questions that I did receive through the chairman. Divots and ball marks, which was brought by you, Jay. Well, our plan is to really, we're kind of rotating in some new signage at the golf course. So we are planning on handling that with some new signage at the golf course, and then we'll have it be a focus of our starters to discuss it with each group that tees off. That's the expectation. The classic, fix yours and one other one as far as ball marks go,
Yeah.
Right.
and then have some signage also for what the expectation is with divots, which can vary based on where you play. In general, we like a divot that still has grass attached to it. We like you to replace it. If it explodes like it would right now when it's very dry, don't worry about it. Our staff will take care of it. But as was mentioned, John, when we were discussing how busy the golf course is, there are so many ball marks, so many divots. When you do 46,000 rounds of golf, that's a lot every day. We have 300 golfers every day going through there without any breaks. And then, when we had the best players in the state, they're all making ball marks.
Right, and just not to interrupt you, but I believe on the second and third day, the starters actually said that, basically told the players, we're guests at this golf course, and we expect everyone to replace their divots and do their ball, the ball marks too.
They do a great
I
job.
think
And so we're going to kind of carry that narrative to our staff and have our staff, have our staff have a narrative to give people
Yeah.
before they tee off.
Yeah.
So let them know that's the expectation. It's the basics. All golfers pretty much know it, but you can't just assume they know. So you have a good reminder.
It's good to be reminded once in a while.
And,
I brought a sample for you to
oh yeah,
the
please.
signage that
Yeah, there are some great
at another
signs.
golf course.
Well,
That one might be a little
might
harsh.
be a little aggressive.
Little strong.
Yeah, a little strong, but that's okay. It's point me.
You're not gonna saw it.
If it works.
So yeah, so when we are addressing,
Yeah,
at future meetings, if anybody has any other ideas for signs, we are looking to reduce the signage at the golf course and make it really just pertinent stuff. So
Yeah.
so in the
Yeah, you
future,
don't want to have it all over the place.
that's a problem. It becomes a collage effect, and then
Yeah,
it just blends and nobody sees it. If you noticed, we do have one brand new sign right going up the driveway. What we hope that does is mirrors the website daily news ticker, just to tell people course open, course closed, range on grass, range on mats. And so that's what we put on our news ticker every single day on the website. And not everybody sees it. We still see a lot of people driving in saying, "No, we didn't know it was closed." So that sign right in the entrance to the golf course parking lot, we're excited will help keep people informed.
Yep, that sounds good.
And especially when we get into the frost delay time of year and abnormal condition type stuff.
Roman, the signage is great. That's just to see that'll be great.
Yeah.
But in terms of the time it takes for the ball marks or the divots to heal, is that going to be explained anywhere? Because I know like the USGA has some videos about it,
Sure.
and they talk about, hey, it could take months for a divot to
Oh,
heal.
yeah,
and it's
well,
not
with the
in
ball
place.
mark, I mean, we could, and if you want me to do something educational, we could. I definitely want to bring in our superintendent, Sean Fernandez, for that. I know in general, what they say is a pitch mark on a green, if you fix it correctly, it's like a 2-day fix. And if you don't fix it, it's like 2 to 3 weeks possibly.
Right.
Divots are very much the same thing, but,
Yeah, I was just suggesting to grab the USGA links, but again,
okay.
I'm trying to keep it simple.
Well,
Not burden you with a whole.
No, it's okay. Jay, I'm sure you probably saw in the past, I have emailed out in my monthly email that I send to all the members links to the USGA. Here's how you fix a pitch mark. One other sign I've picked out that we're going to have is on the driving range. Here's a proper divot pattern, because we're having so much trouble keeping grass on that big tee we have, and letting people know what a proper divot pattern looks like really saves a lot of grass out there. So please, going forward, if you have any ideas about signs, maybe we can even have that as an item we discuss at one of our meetings, because we'd love some feedback. Like I said, I want to keep the signs to a minimum and make them very pertinent.
Agreed.
All right, stroke allocation. Again, you brought that up, Jay, through the chairman, and I don't know if you had a chance to read the link. I sent that out. That went out late, and it went out with the.
I don't know if you saw it, I forwarded something with a
Yeah.
link to the stroke allocation issue, and then another matter that we'll discuss before we
Okay.
conclude.
I didn't. I did put together a grid with,
Okay.
how the cards, old and new, and then the mass amateur ranking, how they rank the holes.
Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I have it right here. So here's some pages. There you go. I already know. And then kind of listed the questions. Not that you have to address those today, but just getting an explanation, Roman,
Sure.
of how the ranking system works, I think is a big start for those
Sure.
who've been asking me, why is it changed?
Well,
it helps to be able to answer
If
those
you don't mind,
questions.
review the link. So I think the link that I send is a one-pager from the USGA, and basically, all it says is, and thank you for this data. I know there's nothing like having some good data, but it's it changed in January of 2020 when the USGA adopted, and then the whole world of golf basically adopted the World Handicap System. They came up with a new process for hole allocations, which is a recommendation from the USGA. You don't have to do it, but as a municipal golf course, I think it's a good idea to follow all the USGA recommendations. And so as a rule, that's what we do. We follow the USGA recommendations on stroke allocation, and it's basically gotten away from the we collect our own data and we do our own thing, to where now it's tied to the course rating that's done by the local allied association, which is Mass Golf. So when Mass Golf comes in and does a golf course rating, they provide the data and the recommended stroke allocation. And you'll see review the link, please, Jay. And then if you want to bring this back as a topic in the future, we can. I did a deep dive into this topic when the World Handicap or the World Handicap System was first adopted. And so we discussed everything about how your handicap would change, and even the stroke allocation, why the cards changed at that time. We could do it again. We may not have to, though. I could always send out that link in general, just as part of a monthly newsletter I send out, just so people have it, and people can have an understanding of it. Because when the World Handicap System was adopted, everybody was more worried about how does it affect me and my handicap, and less how it affects your scorecards and
Right.
stroke allocation. So, but in general, it's that the whole system moving that way was meant to make the golf easier, golf more accessible to a new wave of golfers, and I think it's done that. I think as golfers, we all used to have to be mathematicians. You had to go in and figure out the equitable stroke control, and you had to figure out your own thing. And it's gone way away from that now. You just use the USGA app. You type in what score you get. It does all the math for you. It posts it for you. Even if you have to bail out after the 14th hole, it'll finish a round for you. And so it's all the decisions were made to make the game easier. And I think even with the stroke allocation holes, it makes sense. So take a look at that. And if anybody has any questions on that link or that page, I'd be happy to answer them. again, I think it makes good sense. When we did the scorecard, I talked to the folks in charge of handicapping at Mass Golf and, walked through, are we doing this correctly? Walked right through it, and yes. So they directed me right to all the right resources, and so we are following USGA recommendations on stroke allocation. Okay, then one other issue that's a little bit like that, I've had questions. This came up through Karen, I believe, which was why we've gone to one flag and not the red, white, and blue flags to show front, middle, or back pin locations. And that came from Sean Fernandez, our superintendent. That was an idea of his, not only to promote our 50th anniversary with a special flag, but also he said that he wanted to try this, and it's been a wonderful success for him because he said it saves about an hour to an hour and a half a day in choosing hole locations. And he said it's opened up so many more pin positions for him to use where he can spread out the wear on the greens better. Because he's not tied to that rotation of the first hole was a front location, the second one was a middle. So now I have to be in the back of the third green. And so he still follows that to a degree. But his rationale to me was very good. That we're a course that doesn't have really blind shots. We do have flag sticks that have the reflectors in them. So if you do want specific distance, you can use a rangefinder. But it's really going a long way towards making his staff more efficient and spreading out the wear on the greens as far as pitch marks go. So based on that, because I just had an analysis with him and a discussion with him analyzing that, we're going forward. That's what we plan to do is just keep that one flag system to allow them, just because of the amount of play we have, to allow them to spread out the wear and use some new hole locations. I think it's been a great program. I know change is difficult, and people they'll hey, I can't tell what the flag is. Can you tell? We give now our carts give middle of the green distance, and you have to eyeball it a little bit. But after 20 years of being a golf teacher myself, more often than not, I recommend people just the middle of the green distance is best for everyone. So hit it to middle distance, and guess what? Guess what? You'll be pretty close.
Just want to get on the green.
If I'm on the green, it's a victory.
Exactly.
And it's funny. Most of the people that have been concerned about this have been people that that shouldn't be pin hunting. And then there was another question that came up about a 9-hole resident rate. I think we should probably discuss that more when we get into the rate and fee discussion.
Sure.
So that's just due to the fact that we did have a couple more topics to cover. I kept my director's report pretty lean. So if anybody has any specific questions, please fire away. If not, we can move on to other topics.
Any follow-up to what Roman's discussed?
I just want to thank you for making that effort to get those answers quickly, because we only meet once a month. So, it's terrific that you turned it around as quickly as you did. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy to. And I not to keep things going, but I do send a monthly newsletter, and if anybody does have a suggestion for the monthly newsletter, you just spark my attention. Maybe links to those USGA videos on pitch marks and divots may be a good idea. So if anybody has any suggestions for my monthly newsletter, that'd be great. I used to send out emails to the membership every chance something came up, and the analysis of our open rate on emails it was going down. I get a 70% open rate on the monthly emails I do right now, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we could say people are getting the information, whereas it used to be around 10% open rate when we did multiple.
Yeah,
so the monthly newsletter is getting to our folks. So
Goes to the pass holders?
Yeah, all pass holders, yes. It's our whole pass holder database.
I think people look forward to see what's going on
Yeah.
with the course and, what's coming and
Yeah.
when can I play.
Well, they're hungry for, like I said, the high open rate shows they're hungry for the information.
Yeah.
When there was too much of it, they weren't so much.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I had under that topic.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, if there are no further follow-ups for Roman on the matters that he was kind enough to fill us in on, we can turn now to the new business. And the first piece of that is discussion of rates and fees for 2025. And as Roman had shared with me, he just wants to kind of give us an idea of what he's thinking about to kind of start the discussion. Nothing is set in stone. It's all, ideas and background, because next month, which would be October, would be our meeting would start with a public hearing for the public to respond to what concerns they may have or ideas they may have, and then we will morph into our own meeting following that. And that would be scheduled, I think, for the 15th of October, I believe, is the date, as I recall it. Yeah, Tuesday, October 15th. I have this room reserved from 4 to 6 p.m. for that purpose, and if we need a bigger room, if we find out, we can look at that, but let's just see how it plays out. So Roman, I'll turn that discussion over to you. I hope I've adequately and accurately described how you want to present this.
Absolutely, please. You absolutely nailed it. So this is just what I said. If you take a look at the proposed rates for 2025, that's strictly, anything I put in red would be an increase in the rates. And the one thing I did want to tell you was, if you look at the dates that are associated with it, they need tweaking, and I've not done that yet. So don't look at the exact dates. They need to change by a day or two based on what day, where the weekends fall, and so I did not adjust that yet. But those are very general times. The really, and this is based on past trends. What we've done in the past, we not putting too much undue pressure on any one segment. We've done the and this seems to be a successful routine. I think people are pretty used to it. Is every other year we adjust the rates for annual passes, and not every year. So last year we adjusted the annual pass rates. My recommendation this year is to really stick with that program and not to adjust them this year, other than the non-resident rate, because I do think there's still a correction that needs to occur. That rate was too low. If you expose yourself with too low of a number there, you expose yourself to too many people jumping on looking for a good deal. And if we move to 1360 with the non-resident rate this year, it would be, I believe, the 5th straight year we've moved, like say Chatham residents up $100. It's been a real correction for them. But we hit there is we're just about 50%. That rate's just about 50% higher than the Harwich resident rate, and that's kind of a sweet spot that all the other municipalities in our area are doing. There is a little disparity there what they do, but that would make about a 50% increase over the Harwich resident, which I think is a pretty good number. I've been trying to hit that ratio right there. It's 50% is something I've been trying to raise that number to get because that was too low.
In addition to the, proposed for 2025 for discussion purposes, Roman gave us a history of starting with 2016, which you may have had a chance to see. I think that's very helpful to see that.
Yes.
So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Well, you're welcome. I mean, I think it is important to have it in perspective. That gives the perspective of it. The reason it goes to 2016 is that was my first full year here, and I don't really have a whole lot of data before that. And you'll see most of the reports I do give for start in 2016 because I have confidence in that data, and I'm not really sure about the data, the historical data pre me. But and then so if you look at also another big change that I am recommending is that I think needed a adjustment is the price of range balls. So if you take a look at the history chart that Paul just referenced, if you look on the second page, small and large buckets of range balls, they have not changed since 2016. So I think it's time, and once again, I think we are exposed to being a little bit too inexpensive in that regard, to where that may be one of the reasons our range gets hit so hard. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's great to have the business, but at some point, you get the reputation of don't go to the range, you can't ever get a spot at the range.
Right.
And so I think we're kind of there because we're a little bit too low priced there. So what I'm recommending is an adjustment in fees there of increasing those buckets by $2 each. So the small and large, same number of golf balls, which would be $35 and $70. But what I'm recommending is they would now be $7 and $10. I'm sorry. So yes, so $7, $10.
10 for the large.
10 for the large, which is currently 8. And I did a little market research. What I'll do is I'll provide more market research next month when I make a more formal recommendation. But that seems to be right where our competition is. And then I would introduce there a new warm-up bucket for $5, which would only have 15 balls, just for the people that just want to take a few swings.
That's a good
Yeah, just to
idea.
warm up. And then if you'll see,
They do that at a lot of courses, right?
you know, that's kind of a new trend to have a warm-up bucket. Or, you know, one thing I was thinking about there, Paul, was like Pine Hills. If you play at Pine Hills, it's more of a resort experience, but it's an all-inclusive rate. You pay one rate, you get the cart, you get the greens fee, and you get access to the driving range that day for the day. So it's kind of along those lines. And so what I was hoping was for our prime greens fees of like midsummer when we were really at our peak rate, to go up $5 on the greens fees there, because this would be looking at the every other year adjustment. This would be a year we look at the greens fees, and to raise those greens fees by $5 from 85 to 90 and from 65 to 70 in our core summer months, and include the warm-up bucket as part of it, you know, and as part of an added value for those. So
that, and the increases here, you'd give them the add-on bucket?
yes, and anything that has the asterisk on it.
Oh, got it, got it.
Anywhere it's +5 is
Got it, thank you.
I would
I
add
see it
on.
now.
And so when you check in, you for your receipt that you give to the starter, it would also have a second receipt that would be a 6-digit pin for your warm-up bucket at the range, and that would expire at the end of the day. Put a little value added there. And then the only one other thing that I want to discuss, because also on this every other year program, this would be a year we'd look at the cart fees. And we haven't moved up the cart fees in 2 years. I looked at the market, did a little market research, and we're kind of right on that $26 for 18 holes for the general public is really what the median is right now. Our pass holders would be 24, which is, you know, a little discount, but it's below market value, just slightly below market value there. And then the 9 holes are kind of appropriately placed as well. But and then raising the walking push carts rates by $2. What we're hoping to do is keep upgrading the fleet of push carts. We use a lot of those; they get a lot of work in. So I'm trying to justify purchasing over the next couple of years, kind of bringing in a new fleet of push carts, because they see so much activity. But please, that's kind of the general sense. I'd love to hear your feedback on it.
It seems consistent with what we've been doing,
Yeah.
and I think that's important. I mean, you know, we're not gouging people. This is still a pretty good price.
I think so, and really, one of my guiding principles in this was, and last year's was really, while there's such good demand for golf, to really highlight the value for the Harwich residents. So not to go up on the Harwich resident rates at all, but really to prioritize Harwich residents, and then the general public, the vacationers. Get a good rate back, get a good rate out of them, because there is so much demand.
Yeah. And it includes the 15 balls, so it's basically almost like a wash,
Right.
really.
It's basically a wash. Yeah, basically you're buying a free warm-up bucket,
Yeah.
whether you want it or not.
Yeah, and as far as the carts, you know, being in a lot of carts this summer, they all don't have what we have here, GPS and everything. So that's a big thing, and they should pay a little bit more for that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like buying a Cadillac versus
Sure.
Yeah.
Volkswagen.
and what'd you see when you went around? Did you see? I know when you were with Nest Golf, you weren't renting carts necessarily, but what the cart company tells me, what I've seen myself is these rates would be kind of right in the middle.
Yeah.
Private courses a little higher. Some public courses that have the old gas buggies a little lower.
Yeah, yeah. The gas ones are on their way out, but
Yeah, I'm sure.
you know, but first they have to build a cart barn with the electricity.
Yeah.
It's
It
costly.
can't happen overnight.
Not gonna happen.
It's a big investment.
All right, as long as, and from my feedback, if it's competitive, if you've done the market research, it is, I gotta say, it is what it is. Right?
Yeah.
So, I appreciate the explanation.
Sure. And like I said, this is just for set up the initial discussion. At next month's meeting, I'll have a more formal package with more of a formal grid for market research. What do I do for market
Yeah.
research? How we compare. But I do that every year.
We must have a sense of how we compare with the other local courses.
Yeah, which courses do you look at?
The other municipalities mostly is the dentist courses, the captain's courses,
Yeah.
the Barnstable courses. So those are the main ones. And then like I said, I do always look at what Pine Hills is doing off Cape, because that's such a resort that tries to be a little bit, tries to outdo the Cape course a little bit and steal the traffic coming this
Yeah.
way. So, but for the most part, we look at the other municipalities, because that's definitely our direct competition.
So next time you'll have a comparison
Yes.
between captains and.
Yeah, the captain's
Yeah,
dentist, Barnstable,
Yeah.
and the other municipality that we don't really usually compare with is Sandwich Hollows. They're kind of a tier below. You know, and so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Roman, you mentioned, I think Karen had asked about a 9-hole resident
Yes.
rate.
Yeah, so I'm not recommending that we go that low, because there at some point there is that greens fee integrity you want to maintain, and so so right now we have a Harwich resident rate of $50. If you're going to play the early morning back 9, whether you do it on your own, whether you do it as a guest member, it's $40, so it's $10 less. You pay whatever obviously the lowest rate is. So I kind of want to maintain that number right there. I know one big number in golf is your cost per round, which is very, very simply your operating budget divided into your rounds, and we're just over 40. I think we're right around $41 per round, and that includes our pass holders that are going 150 rounds on their 9-10, and they're basically paying $6 a round or something like that. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing that defines you like that number, and it's a $41 golf course. That's what we are. We're a $41 per round golf course on average. And so, I don't like to see the rates get too much below that. I know some of our rates do in Twilight. You have to be competitive for people, that are really value sensitive. And we get a lot of people like that really want that value. And so they'll go out at 5 o'clock at night and they pay $35. And that's a competitive rate.
The Harwich resident rate for 18 is 50.
50.
Is that year round?
Year round, yes. So that would be a midsummer rate, you could play at 8 o'clock in the morning as a guest member if you want to bring on a neighbor that's not a pass holder. I mean, it's really a good deal.
Sure is.
It's really, I think it's a standalone rate. I don't think we need to go below that, would be my recommendation.
And 40 for 9 holes.
Yes, early morning back 9 for 40.
And that's really the only time you can book that.
We do have a 9-hole rate you'll see here.
In the afternoon?
Sunday through Thursday after 1.
Yeah,
We do offer a 9-hole rate.
that's right.
Can a non-member get a back 9?
Yes.
You can bring a guest in.
No, I'm sorry. Not only that, but the pass holders get first access to those.
Yeah.
Once the lottery occurs 3 days out, we those all fill in with everybody's requests. Then they're for sale. Anything remaining is for sale.
Okay.
And you do that under the booking.
Yes, you do under booking. Once, so you can make a request for it in advance, and then then you'll get placed. But once that placement occurs, then you can do a booking as a member, or general public can just call and get it. More often than not, in the summer they sell out to our members. So you won't see anybody except a guest of a member playing.
right.
Right.
But it is funny, just anecdotally. We've talked in the past when we had the pandemic surge of really high demanding golf of the dreaded overflow list when you put in a request and you don't get it. It's funny to see what's happening there now, because I monitor that stuff every day, and people are really getting savvy to where they all request a 18-hole round, and nobody requests that back 9, early morning back 9 anymore. And then if they do get overflowed because they have a whole lot of points, they know to jump right into this policy and do a booking for the back 9. And so when I look at the overflow list, they've already gotten tee times, like within an hour of the time they go out, because and there's not many, but they'll submit for 18 holes, and if they played a ton over the last 2 weeks, they won't get it, and so they immediately jump into the back 9. So they're still playing golf 7 days a week. Some people.
How is that overflow rate? Was it?
It's much lower this year. I mean, yeah. The only time it was ever an issue was the big holiday weekends, Memorial Day, Labor Day. Even Labor Day was not that much. Memorial Day was a pretty good demand. But no, really very little. And like I said, if you'll get, I've said this in the past, and so bear with me, at these committee meetings, but like all overflows are not equal. We get people, I get the full analysis of the people that are on there. You'll get people over and over that say the time I want to play is 8 o'clock, but I'll accept something as early as 7:50 and as late as 8:10. So you have there's 3 tea times, and if you carry any points at all, somebody's gonna be a higher priority. Some people do that, whereas other people will say, I'll take anything from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So when you hear people say they got overflowed, that's not the whole story. How many points, how many times you're playing, how large of a window did you request, and some people, some people are always going to try to work the system a little bit where they do some creative requests, but for the most part, that Chelsea system is so fair and it really works. And this year, as you asked, Mark, the overflow in general was down quite a bit, and the only people on it either were making mistaken tea time requests where they requested 10 o'clock, which is usually a non-member tea time. And so whenever I see that, I always email somebody personally, say, excuse me, I saw that you got put on the overflow list. Please refer to this document on our website that'll show you what the member tea times are, and so that you can get accommodated next time. And I always remind people to give yourself a wider window. That doesn't hurt your time, it just helps you get a time if you have some flexibility. Right. Some people think, oh, those suckers that submit for a wide window, I want a specific time. That doesn't help you. So that does not help.
No.
So.
Reduces your chances.
It reduces. That's all it does. It's a priority-based system that when you're up on the points list, it sees what's available within your request window, and if there's nothing available, then there's nothing available.
Any questions or comments from folks? I think this gives us a little something to digest.
Right.
Going into October, and then we'll get more specific then.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Well, yes. So as I mentioned, I will, float this around among my staff, and then normally, somebody I would include in the conversation every year. What I've always done is I include the finance director in the conversation, just to say, this is our plan for the year, because the town finance director will have revenue forecasts that they need to make sure they're pretty accurate and they can track pretty good. So this year we have an interim finance director currently who I just met today, and it's like a temp service, so they don't plan to be here long. So I'm probably not going to tap them on the shoulder for feedback. I'm probably going to go more with what the historical data is. I have a good sense of what the select board is going to ask us for a budget for next year, as far as parameters on a budget. And so what I always try to do is have the rates stay competitive, but also generate revenue to offset the added cost to our operating budget. So once all that's done, I'll include some of that in the conversation in the packet I provide next month. But I think, barring any other feedback, I think this is where the direction I'm heading in anyway.
Yeah.
We may tweak it a little bit, or come up with some other ideas once I talk to staff, talk to other town staff.
Sure.
But this is the general direction I'm headed, because as you mentioned, it's consistent with past practice.
Yeah, it seems to be. Yeah.
Does this rate plan start taking into account some of the major improvements that you're looking to do in the future? I think we mentioned that irrigation is off in the future. I assume they're like capital budget issues, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Traps and irrigation, I think, were on the list. Yeah. Just curious how does the money get reserved from the course to make sure that those things happen?
It's a complicated question.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Just because, in general, I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit, that next month, I believe, I'll be asked to submit capital requests for the golf department. There's 3 projects that I'm currently contemplating for that, and one of them is the irrigation system upgrade. It's a high priority. It was supposed to be done this year. It was supposed to be, and I submitted for this year, and somewhere up the chain, they decided not to do the town was not comfortable with the borrowing for it, and so there was a chance of a fall town meeting where they said, okay, we may finance this in the fall town meeting. I heard today in my department head meeting, chances are very good that there's not going to be a fall town meeting this year. So that's going to be my highest priority for next year. When I submit for the capital plan, that will be the high priority, and I'll say I need it in next year, or the current fiscal year. I'm sorry, the first fiscal year that begins July 1st of next year. So FY26 that'll be, and that'll just be consistent for consistency's sake. I had it on for FY25, and so above my pay grade, they decided not to take out the borrowing for it. We are in a good financial position to pay for debt service on that. We've been accumulating money in our golf improvement fund. We have about $500,000 to $600,000 in an account to begin paying for that. We expect it to be about $2.5 million. But our previous finance director, I was in touch with her the whole way, and she said, "Yeah, your finances look really good in that account to pay for the debt." She was looking at a 10 or 12-year bond on that project. So that was I got the thumbs up.
Is this for irrigation?
For irrigation, yeah.
It's good.
Absolutely. So now that would drain it a little bit. So what they asked me to do at that time was say, hey, give it a couple of years before a new project. And so that's why the bunkers would be on for FY29. They're estimated to be at about $1 million. I put in for $900,000 last year because we spoke with a local golf course architect, and they're consistent right now with the with prices for full bunkers, and based on our square footage, we rated $900,000. If we get up near FY29, that number will go up to $1 million probably.
Maybe a little higher.
Maybe a little higher. So we'll see if anything comes down. I doubt it. And then the third project that we're really in need of, there will be a new capital request that I'll probably put on for FY30, unless I hear differently from our town administrator, is the replacement of our original maintenance building. That was supposed to be part of the Carp Barn project in 2017, and it turned out that's just been problematic step after step. That was estimated originally in 2017 to be a $150,000 reskin of the building, and since that time, when we started getting quotes for it, they said this is the reason that's problematic. It was problematic in so many ways. Our original quote, which was based on a building in DPW, they had just reskinned, and so we just had the facility manager, Sean Libby, to do an overall analysis at the town administrator's request of this original building, and he said he's recommending a rebuild instead of a reskin, and his estimate is $2.5 million on that.
$2.5 million?
$2.5 million, yeah.
And that would be fiscal year 30?
Well, so, yeah, that will be my one new request. And that's all they ask for each year is that fifth year of the 5-year capital plan. So that'd be for FY30 right now. Now, between us and I guess the world, because we're being videoed, I'm gonna request possibly if there's any way the town could pay for it with free cash or something like that, because it was part of a 2017 plan that got approved at town meeting, and we're just unable to do it financially. So we're going to turn back about $250,000 from what was originally budgeted for that Carp Barn project, because we came in under budget, other than reskinning that building. And so
And that's still being carried, that 250.
250. That 250 is still part of the 2017 article that we're doing the very last steps of that, because that was a phased out project where we had to move on. If you remember, but we had a gas tank way up in the parking lot for fueling our old gas carts. Well, we had to move that down and then convert the tanks that were down in maintenance. We're just completing that gas tank conversion right now. It's the last part of it, and so we'll have 250 left over in that article that we will turn back and request how, because right after we do the irrigation for $2.5 million and then the bunkers, let's say for $1 million, it's hard to fathom the following year we would have the ability within our accounts to take on $2.5 million. So I'm really looking for some guidance above my pay grade with the town administrator.
Yeah.
As far as here's a need and here's why it occurred, and to present the document that we're going to get from our facility manager that said I'm no longer recommending a reskin, I'm recommending a replacement for that building.
Rob, just a quick question on the driving range. I know it's closed for a couple of weeks while they maintenance on it. Is there any way we can go further back the other way, where the trees are? I know the kids go in there with to get the balls.
Yes. So no. So what I'm hoping to do there is I'm hoping to have an architect do a master plan for the driving range next year, and and just to give some options, because I know there are some efficiencies that we can gather with the driving range. From my understanding, no, because there is it's not a vernal pool right behind the range there. So they're very careful. We even asked if we could stack some hay bales there, and we did not get approved for hay bales. I did get a quote for a net that right now, because we could lose so many balls out of the back of that range. One thing, I don't know if you saw the USJ report that is the next item on the agenda, but he just very kind of randomly recommended lowering that tee box and doing an analysis.
And he suggested you get an architect.
Yeah, he suggested an architect. Now, I've had some broad conversations with Mark Munjum, who's our local architect, and he's done a lot of work on the golf course, who I would love to engage for a master plan of the range. But in general, there's not and that's behind the range. The gentleman from the USGA, he suggested there may be some land back there for another tee. There's not. Right now, the balls all go out of the back of that range, so there's nowhere to put a tee back there. There is an idea, possibly, to explore of moving with the tee where it currently is and putting it in line with the parking lot, so that you're actually hitting more towards the school and hitting in that direction. But again, there's a question of how much land. If you did I don't know if you guys have been to like a drive shack or Top Golf. If you did a U-shaped netting really high, you could possibly do that. Boy, that's a big deal. I don't really. I don't. That's a lot of. That's a major investment. I don't think we're going there. What we're doing currently really works, and even though we're losing a lot of balls out the back of the range, boy, that range is basically printing money. I mean, the range is just such a gold mine of our operation. So we're just trying to buy more range balls. The one problem we had was coming out of the pandemic, when there were really shortages on all materials, the golf ball companies were not making range balls because that was really a low profit margin item for them. And so we had a hard time getting range balls. That's getting a little bit easier now, and we have plenty of money in our budget to buy plenty of range balls. So unfortunately, it's not a great answer, but we're going to probably double our supply of range balls and just keep going in the woods when we can to pull them back out. And I've a quote for a 6-foot net that has a 2x4 at the bottom that would catch nothing would go under it, and it'd be about $20,000. And I don't know if we'd get the approved the
6 feet,
conservation
but it would go the whole
length of the
width
back of the range.
Yeah.
But again, we'd have to go through some hoops maybe to get approval from conservation to put it in. So right now, the plan is to keep buying range balls, and
Well, approval from conservation, I mean, they should be more likely to approve that than have
throw
the
range
balls
balls
in the
out there.
vernal pool, right?
You would think.
Yeah, you would think so.
But then again,
I'm sure that's.
What's the return on investment, though?
Yeah. So
conservation
that's what we're always balancing. I think
But if
right
you
now,
weigh the
it's
two
more.
options,
Yeah.
Right now, it's a
it
good
might
idea
make
to
a
buy
lot more
range
sense.
balls and to increase the cost of the bucket.
Yeah.
But then one thing along the lines, I can't even remember who asked the question, along the lines of the range, Sean and I have talked about, we're probably going to resod that tee every 3 years or so, just because of how much, we used to do it every 5 to 7 years, and we just did it 2 years ago, and we may have done it last year. So every 3 years or so, we're going to resod the range. That doesn't cost that much, $10,000 or $12,000 to do that. And then I don't know if you remember the last meeting I mentioned, the USGA may be interested in having you guys do a
Bermuda
pilot
grass.
program for Bermuda grass out there that would heal a lot
This is
better.
more sturdy.
Yeah, more sturdy and really fills in divots a lot closer. Eric, that's an idea the USGA had. Agronomist had when he came out. He said that due to global warming, we're starting to see some southern grasses that heal much, much better
Interesting.
working up here. So he said the USGA may be interested in doing a pilot program at our golf course of a portion of our tee, or maybe even the whole tee. They would come in, foot the bill to a degree to put Bermuda grass in
See how it does.
and see how it does. Because theoretically, a Bermuda grass divot fills in 2 days or so, or we're more like 2 weeks right now for a divot.
Yeah, wow, that's a
Well,
big
the
difference.
temperatures haven't gotten all that low,
Yeah.
historically in the last 5-10 years.
Yeah, I know. So it's more about that. It's more about those hot summer days when we're just having that range divot after divot after divot. If we could fill them in, and if right now, like as Mark said, we're closed for 2 weeks approximately for the tee to heal, and it's a good time to grow grass right now. So
Very good.
we wouldn't have to do those closures, or they'd be much shorter.
Right.
If we had Bermuda type grass that filled in faster.
Just a question, like on 14 and on 15. So on 14, there was a damage, which I'm sure is probably weather related, but is that irrigation related as
It's
well?
irrigation related,
Okay.
well, yeah, sure is. And so that's just our system.
Ground
showing
under
us
repair.
Yeah, there's a big area, right? in
Yeah.
the landing zone,
Yeah.
basically about 100 yards out. From
Well,
the
our
green.
staff has been doing great work.
I can't believe how
Half-hearted
fast they
work.
repaired that.
And we just had one last week on the 11th hole where, I mean, it's real detective work. You lose some heads and you have to get in there and dig up and find out where the problem is.
Yeah.
And that's an aging system, and that's why it's really, really a
We
priority.
gotta get
for
it
us.
repaired, we gotta get it done.
It is.
Yeah.
It's our highest priority. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
That makes
And that's gonna
sense.
cost 2.5 too?
Yeah, so right now, we're very confident in that 2.5 number, that it would come in probably right at or under that number.
Okay.
And like I said, we've been piling away money towards that. We have about $600,000 right now saved up to start a debt process with that, and then we have a mechanism that generates about 100,000 a year.
I think it's too important to the reputation of the golf course. I mean, you just
Yeah.
had all this great exposure with
Right.
Mass Sam. We need to capitalize on that, and not lose it.
There's really, there's really no reason that didn't get taken on last year other than the town and its bond rating, and it's stuff that's beyond golf. Everybody at every level, from the select board to the capital, they all support the project. It was more at a critical moment, a finance director or
Yeah.
finance committee chose not to take that one on, to kick the can down the road to a possible fall town meeting. Now it seems like it's probably going to go towards an article next annual town meeting. But I've heard nothing but support for it, and especially with our financial position that we have money to begin a debt service with that. So
Good.
I don't think it'll be a problem whatsoever getting it approved at town meeting next year.
That would be
Excellent.
good.
But, and again, I think the support of the committee, and if Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to come to any of these meetings, your support representing the committee at a capital
Okay.
league meeting or a select board meeting when we're discussing this could be critical.
Well, let me know and I'll do my best to be there.
I will.
I think we all know we have to do it.
Yeah.
There's a unanimous agreement on that.
Yes.
It's gotta be done and it should be the number one priority. I wish we could do something about the sand trap sooner, but I think we've gotta be realistic.
Completely agree.
Yeah, again, when we were trying to get our approvals for our capital plan last year, I got nothing but positive feedback about our main priority of the irrigation upgrade, but I did get positive feedback also to thank you for not piling these projects one
Yeah.
on top of the other for financial planning for the town. So they were very appreciative of the FY29 date for the bunkers. And one thing that I loved, and was going back to the mid-am, that the gentleman in the video, when he held out the bunker shot, he said, "Perfect lie in the bunker."
Yeah.
When he held out that big shot, he said, "Oh, I got over the shot, perfect lie." I loved it because that's got more to do with our staff getting out there in the morning and hand raking those
Yeah.
bunkers for that big event,
Yeah.
and because he could have just as easily said, "Oh, another terrible lie in the bunker," but that was not the story.
That's good. All good.
Not supposed to hit the ball there anyway, right?
I know.
People are sick of me saying, "Hey, it is a hazard. What are you doing in there anyway?"
No, but when you're
Try to
turning on
stay out of
18
there.
around those trees,
I,
Yeah, they're there.
they're there. Sometimes they're.
barely seeing the green as it is.
It is punishing when it
Those guys.
happens though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, agreed.
Okay, maybe we can turn to the agronomist
Yes, please.
consultation. Thank you.
You want me to just start running with this?
Sure.
All right, great. Yeah, so we've been in a routine of doing this every 2 years, having a USGA consulting agronomist come out. And this is more, I view this more as a resource for our golf course superintendent, Sean Fernandez. It's really him getting an opportunity to discuss with a peer what's working at other golf courses, what he's seen at other golf courses. It's a very technical discussion between some real science-based guys about what products are working, what are not, what ideas are working, what aren't, and that's exactly what happened. I think Sean would tell you he had some really positive feedback from this gentleman. He got some great ideas from him. The one thing I kind of latched onto was that Bermuda grass on the driving range tee, but they had much more specific conversations about spray products that are beneficial to the golf course. and then he really focused on the two areas of the golf course, tees and bunkers. And, you know.
Talked about the size of the tees and so forth, right?
Yeah, he did. He really thought, in his report shows us that the golf course really wasn't, the tees weren't really designed for the amount of play we're seeing. One thing I would add that he didn't really mention here was, we're maintaining some tees, and some locations that we're not even using. So some of those back tee locations we're using for a mid-am type event, but our daily play, we want people to play a shorter golf course than that. And so I think that was also a trend. When our golf course was built 50 years ago, that was more the trend then, was to make these championship golf courses with back tees. And the trend in golf now is to engage more an aging golf population and more new golfers by moving them up. And so by moving them all up, we're seeing a lot of concentration into those areas. One idea he had that I thought, it's pretty simple but also really good was, we probably offer our golfers too much of the tee to tee off, and his idea was to limit to about 5 paces and spread the wear that way. I thought it was a great idea. I know Sean reacted very positively to that idea. And then the bunkers, there's general discussion about anybody who's played the golf course has seen those liners coming up. If you've played in Barnstable, if you've played in Dennis, anywhere, but all the municipalities on the Cape all went with that liner system probably 20 years ago. And
It was the hot idea.
It was the hot idea.
Yeah.
The promise was it would last longer than it really has, and so it's coming up everywhere. As I've mentioned in the last committee meeting, it's funny, we were really going back to basics now. Now they're digging them out and putting a layer of sod in the bottom to act as drainage. That layer of sod dies out and just acts as a good filter. It's a nice natural filter. That's what we're recommending. That's also what the USGA recommends as well when we do the project. But I mean, it's really a good answer. I'd love to have the money to do it right away. It's not our highest priority. Our highest priority is the irrigation system.
Yeah.
And so, but that's our second. And so when I do submit our capital recommendations, I'm going to submit the bunkers for FY29 once again. But I'd love to hear any feedback from any committee members you guys have about the report or anything in it, or if you'd like to see that wasn't in it. What do you guys get for feedback?
Did you make any comments at all about the paths, the paved paths?
No.
Okay.
But one thing I will mention to you, they have become a high priority for myself and our maintenance department, where you'll see more path work each year. We have money in our budget annually to address the car paths. We have a new spec that we're using, which is the specs we got when we did the path on hole 6, much wider path. We're also going to do them right away on hole 13. You'll see Sean's been taking down some trees there. We have real root intrusion problems there. And then not only that, that's also a real spot of safety where we want to be able to get ambulances out there. For that as well. Yeah. But as far as the path goes, we want to be able to get an ambulance out there, because that's really the only way if we have a health situation out on that part of the golf course, which we recently did have. And we'd like to get those paths to be nice and wide to be able to get emergency vehicles out. So that's this off season. What we're hoping to do is do that, take down some more trees on hole 13, widen that path. That's when we mark as a priority. We are working off of a master plan for carts that was done by Mark Mungem in 2012, I think. And so we do have an architectural plan that we're working off of when we do our annual cart path extensions and overlays.
Could I just ask a question on 12? I don't know if anybody else feels this way. If I have a cart and playing 18 most of the time, I'll get one. When you're coming over from 11 and you go to the white tees, you take that, you go to the far side and take a right. It's a bit of a drop off there. It is better than it was, and there've been improvements in that area. But that's always an area I'm nervous about. Because if somebody's going too fast, they're going to go right over the edge there.
It's a tight turn. It is, and we've addressed it when I mentioned the new specs.
Yeah.
That would be an example of our old car path specs where it was too narrow. It was built too narrow.
Yeah.
So we've done some stuff to put some berms in there and to allow it. But it's a tight turn. Yeah. Now the next path we did after that was hole 6, where we were much more specific with the width of the cart path. Right. And so everything we do for in the future will be much wider.
That size.
That size.
That's helpful.
But also, the car paths in general, they need some overlay in some spots because they have root intrusions going on. So what we're trying to do is take down the trees and, before we do the overlay, so that we really address the problem before you. We don't want to obviously just overlay when there's roots still under there that are going to keep growing. So you'll see on hole 13 that's kind of a tandem thing. If we're taking down the trees, we're going to grind the stumps and then we're going to do the overlay. And then as part of the car path master plan, they recommend the extensions in a lot of places, which is like what we did off on 1. I don't know if you noticed that one, where the car path on 1 used to go way out to the left, and boy, that would be a bumpy ride out through the woods, and then you come out the path. So now we have that new extension that goes out kind of, it kind of veers left, and Sean has the ability there to do a little signage to choose different exit points. But in general, what you want to do with those kind of paths, and Mark Mundrum has them recommend them in a bunch of places on the golf course, is you have a path that just kind of veers off to the woods, and it allows the golfer to choose its exit point. Whereas if you have something that leads down the hole, and everybody hits the same exit point, you'll have a really rough spot, and you have that big bump that you hit when you go off the path, and then you have that big patch of dead grass after.
Yeah.
And that's why the Mass Golf has to come in with a local rule where it's like car paths and extensions, you receive relief, because those extension areas always end up dead. So we want to get more paths like that, where when they go off the tee, they just veer off into the woods, and you either choose your exit point, or our maintenance crew, if they need to, they can choose your exit point by saying exit here. Exit here.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
But that's an annual budget, annual operating budget issue. So we're going to chop a few of those items off annually as far as car
Just
paths.
Give a little bit of a history lesson here. A couple of years ago, while I was on the committee, and I'm probably longer than just 2 years, but we wanted to buy a stump grinder, and collaborated with the other agency in the town, Public Works itself, and they split the cost with us. So now we share it, and when we need it, we try to schedule it, and
Wonderful cost
comes in handy.
savings.
I mean, after the tornado, I mean, it was a mess looking for the ability to just get rid of that stuff.
Wonderful cost savings too, because when you have to hire an outside vendor to come in and send,
Cost you an arm and a
it
leg.
costs you an arm and a leg. You get so much less work done.
Sure.
So now, right now, we tell them, we give them the exact specs, take down the tree to this height, and we'll take care of the grinding and the stumps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all good.
All the work done. Yeah, that was very, very positive.
Yeah, it was good, and good way to kind of collaborate with another agency in the town and save the town some money, and
Sure.
be able to collaborate like that. That's
Yeah,
really
we paid,
good.
if I remember right, we paid a third of the cost of it.
Yeah, all good. Any follow-up questions from any of you on the report?
I did, just a couple quick ones. So on the 18, there's a warning system, right? A button you're supposed to be able to push to let people know. Is that system working?
As far as I know, that is operational.
No, that's a second question.
Right now, so that's become that used to be a liability issue that like we put out there just to protect the golfers that were out there pre the GPS cards. Now that we have the GPS on the cards, that's a more that does a better job of it. So I don't know if you remember, or if you've ever taken cards on 18, it'll warn you to drive up and check out the group ahead of you before teeing
Yeah,
off.
so at
It's
18 it's
blind
blind,
shot.
so there used to be a button you push.
Oh, got it.
Talking about
The light
the
back in the
18,
woods.
the double
Yeah.
dog leg?
Yeah, exactly. But the comments I hear is it doesn't work, so nobody uses it. So again, I don't know.
I didn't think it was functional, but do
Yeah.
you think it is?
Last I heard it was, but then again, it has become secondary in my mind because
Yeah.
in my mind the cart system
Yeah.
is better.
Yeah.
It's a better option. I know that years
More
ago
accurate.
we did deal with a neighbor that said they complained through town hall that she didn't like the light. It looked like aliens were coming out of her yard. She saw the green light shining, the green red lights shining. So, and anyway, that's just an anecdote. But no,
Didn't know you were buying
will.
next to the golf course.
Well, I will check on that system because we invested in it years back, and last I heard it was operational, but it's really has not been in the forefront of my mind. So I will check on it.
And the only other question was just exactly what Eric just raised, the lightning detection system. I know I played at least once this summer. It did not go off.
Yeah.
And it should have.
Yep. So it was down a couple times this
Yeah.
year. Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's funny that that will be part of our irrigation upgrade.
Okay.
Is a new. Those two go hand in hand. So the irrigation system does come with a lightning detection system. So we'll have a brand new system there upgraded. We did have to upgrade the detector that's on the roof of the clubhouse. And that was down for a little while, so we were doing it manually.
Okay.
And yeah, that was. I mean, I hope I hope we didn't put you in any harm. There were some very exciting days with lightning,
Weather?
and when it was down,
I
and
didn't think we had that much lightning this summer.
A couple of
There's
times.
a
A
few.
couple of times, and we were out as far as we could be too, and we're like, we should not be out here.
there was one day in particular
Put
that.
your glove down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one day I think we set the record for lightning strikes, and
Wow.
it was never in the predicted forecast, and even the storm that came. When tracking the storm, it wasn't much of a storm. We had a pop-up cell right over Yarmouth, right on our borders, and then there was another one right in the bay, right in the Sound. I mean,
Yeah, I was playing.
it was
Wow.
it was probably that day because we didn't have many days of lightning, but we had a perfect storm type day.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere.
And so but then I mean, the day I'm thinking of, we tracked the weather manually, and we manually set off the system.
It's just like 6:30 p.m. or something like.
It was later in the day.
Yeah, I think I was.
That's generally when you could get it.
Today I'm discussing it was more like
Humidity
noon.
builds up and
Yeah, we had one very exciting day right around noon that we pulled everybody up the course. And they said, wow, everything's fine. My phone doesn't show anything. And whatever, bam, bam, bam. And
Let's
it
get
never,
outta here.
It never stopped. It went from noon till 4 o'clock probably.
wow. Anything else?
I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have. It's been a productive
Unintended.
meeting, good meeting.
Yep.
Before I guess I go to the good of the order, a couple of things I want to mention. It was very late, and it's only because Roman was instructed to share with us. There is a major housing development. I think it's going to be called Oak Villages 4.
Pine Oaks.
Pardon me,
Four,
Pine,
yeah.
Pine Oaks 4.
Pine Oaks.
Yeah, Pine Oaks 4. And it's, I think, 248 units. It's going to be at 51 Queen Anne Road, which physically is, if you're coming, I guess, east or north from Main Street and come up Queen Anne Road, approaching the Harwich transfer station, before you even get to the right-of-way where the utilities have an open space and there's electric lines and what have you,
Cell tower.
it's on the right-hand side. So it's on the same side as the town transfer station and public works, et cetera. But it's, you turn off of Main Street and maybe halfway up on the right is number 51. There's a whole area in there where they're going to develop it. And it looks like it's a major proposal that's been in the works for a while. I know some of the neighbors physically near it aren't too happy about it because of the size of it. But it is, an affordable housing, partially an affordable housing development, which I believe the Town Affordable Housing Trust Fund and the Community Preservation Act is potentially providing some resources. In any event, the agency which makes a decision about whether this qualifies for the kind of financial support the state can provide has notified the town. There's a 30-day period which started, I think, at the beginning of this week, and will go for 30 days. Roman, in good stewardship, came from the department head meeting and realized that he has to notify us as a committee, and all the committees in the town have to be made aware of it. If they have any concerns or requests, they can organize and have another meeting and get comments, etc. There were several emails he was good enough to share with me, which are various aspects of the proposal that the town needs to be made aware of. If the committee wants, or maybe I'll just do it as a matter of course, I will send you these emails so you can take a look. I can warn you that some of the attachments run 100 pages if you open them up, and there's a lot of detail there. But at the end of the day, the issue is whether it should qualify for the state support, whether it's an appropriate development for the area, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm sure that neighbors are going to be commenting on this. Frankly, given its location, I'm not sure it has a significant impact on the golf course. So I'm not sure it's necessary for us to weigh in, but we needed to be made aware of it. I will make the rest of the committee's members aware of it. If anyone has a strong feeling, or as a group, if we feel we need to, let me know. we can organize something. We need to comment within 30 days. I know I'm sure there are other committees that are going to be commenting on this, as well as the neighbors who, legitimately, if they're impacted, they will have a concern. I wanted to mention that to you. And I will send this later because I just got it this afternoon myself. The other thing I wanted to mention is tomorrow morning, you may recall at our last meeting, we had a moment of silent remembrance for Martha Duffy, who was a longtime member of the committee, and she passed away only a few weeks ago. There will be tomorrow morning a bench dedication at 7 a.m. at the golf course, at the 18th hole at the women's tee, I believe.
Green tea.
The green tee. They will be dedicating a bench in her honor, I believe it's a bench. I intend to be there. You're welcome to come if you want, but I want to at least make you aware of it. And to members of the public who may be watching, you're welcome to come up and honor Martha for this. It's a little early in the morning, but I think it would be kind of a nice, it should be a nice gesture, and I'll be glad to be there representing the golf committee along with Mark. I think Mark's going to go as well. Is there anything else, I guess, under the good of the order, for lack of anything else, before we adjourn? If not, our next meeting is scheduled the 15th of October, once again, the third Tuesday of the month, and we will try to get you advanced information for the agenda and the public hearing on rates, unless we feel we need to meet sooner as a result of this development proposal. But take a look and let me know. If not, I'll accept the motion to adjourn. So moved. Seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Nay. The ayes have it, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your attendance and very, very eloquent participation.
Thank you.
Hit that.
I'll hit the button for us.
Hit the button.
Gee, that was so fun.